We have new information this morning on the failed rollout of HealthCare.gov and the White House's desperate effort to fix the website debacle. Time magazine reveals in its new issue that President Obama considered shutting down the site and starting over. Time contributor Stephen Brill reports the cover story. Good morning, Stephen.
Morning, Laura.
So how close was the president to just scrapping the whole thing?
Well, they were pretty desperate 2 weeks into the launch. As the government shutdown ended, they knew all the attention was now going to be focused on this website, which just wasn't working. So the president ordered his chief of staff to have a team come in and decide whether they should scrap the whole thing and start over, or whether they could fix it.
The president was furious, right?
Well, he was furious, and everybody in these meetings that he had in the first 2 weeks was desperate, but they had no information. At these meetings, they themselves didn't know if the site was up, except by taking out their own laptops and trying to go on it.
Yeah, but there were people in the administration who said this thing is impossible, it's not going to work, and yet other parts of the administration believed, Dennis McDonough, one of them, this is going to work.
They all were told by the agency, the Department of Health and Human Services people, that everything was fine. And they believed them because the people who were doing the technology were afraid to tell the White House that this thing's not going to work. Now, in a situation like that, if you're running a business or if you're running a government, you have to have someone who's willing, to dig down and make sure that those assurances are correct, because there's going to be a day of reckoning, and the day of reckoning was October 1st.
So how did they fix it?
They brought in people from the outside, and very quietly, the core of those people were the people who had done the technology for the campaign.
You point out that the group was made up mostly of Silicon Valley guys, but there was one woman who played a major role in getting the website running. How so?
She was the queen of errors. Her job was to track all the different things that were failing and create the punch list that would just knock them out.
That's a pretty
one
big
by
job.
one. Well, she had a lot of people helping her. She had a lot of people helping her. But these were relatively young, modest people. The hardest part of the reporting was getting them individually to take any kind of responsibility for the good work they did. They kept saying, this is a team, we don't want to be written about, we just like to fix things.
And they worked through Thanksgiving and really got it done.
They worked through Thanksgiving and right up to Christmas Eve.
You write in the piece that this is a story of an administration obsessed with health care policy reform, but not above the nitty-gritty, but above the nitty-gritty of implementing. In other words, they passed a bill, but nobody ever thought about how to implement it.
Well, the people in the White House, at least, for this bill, which is what my reporting is about, were very preoccupied by the policy decisions, the regulations they were writing, and not preoccupied by the nitty-gritty of actually implementing it.
Is it possible?
And government is implementation.
Yeah. Well, is it possible to go back and look at it and say, look, we did not have the right process to implement this, and say, this was your responsibility and you failed it, so therefore you should be fired?
Sure. But there
is more than one.
That responsibility, again, if you're running a government or if you're running a business, as I have, that responsibility starts at the top.
And so the president couldn't fire
himself. I'm not a technologist, but I sure would make sure the technology
happened on his watch, so
works.
therefore he's responsible.
He's responsible. That doesn't mean the president should be fired.
So in the end, do you believe health care will be a positive part of President Obama's legacy?
Well, I think the plumbing and the electricity now works in the House, and now we get to see whether we like living in the House.
Takes time.
We have to see, now the law will be given a chance to work.
All right, Stephen Brill, good to see you. Great reporting.
Great to see you.
Thank you so much.